Have you ever come across one of those brain-bending logical puzzles? The kind that seems so airtight, so clever, it feels like it has to be true? Well, today we're diving into one of them. A really sharp argument that claims to prove a God who is both perfectly just and perfectly gracious is a logical impossibility. It's a heck of a challenge, for sure. But as we're going to see, it might just fall apart when you look a little closer. Let's get into it. So here's our game plan. First, we'll lay out the argument itself, see exactly how it works. Then, we're going to crack its code by looking at the definitions it's built on. After that, we'll dive into what justice and grace really mean, see how the cross is presented as the ultimate resolution, and then wrap it all up with what's really going on here. All right, first up, the contradiction. And look, this isn't just a vague feeling or a what if. This is a formal, logical argument that's designed to be completely airtight. It's a serious intellectual challenge, so let's make sure we understand exactly what it's saying. At its very core, the whole thing really boils down to this one question. It's designed to make us wonder if these two core attributes, justice and grace, are actually opposites. Like, can one being truly be perfect in both without creating a massive contradiction? Okay, so here's the logic laid out, step by step. Premise 1, perfect justice means you always get what's coming to you. Makes sense. Premise 2, perfect grace means you don't always get what's coming to you, right? You get a break. So if you accept those two ideas, and you also accept that God is supposed to be both, you slam right into an unavoidable contradiction. A world where people always and do not always get what they deserve. Logically, that just can't happen. Now, here's the really clever part. The logical steps we just walked through, they're totally valid. The A to B to C of it all works perfectly. So if we're going to challenge this, we can't really attack the logic itself. We have to go deeper and look at the foundation, the very definitions it's built on. And this quote right here, it just hits the nail on the head. It claims the paradox isn't real at all. It's strictly semantic, which is just a fancy way of saying the problem is with the words we're using. The contradiction isn't in God's nature, it's in our own incomplete, shallow definitions of these huge concepts. So this table really breaks it down. The argument assumes justice just means immediate punishment, a sort of strict payback. But the theological view is way richer. It includes restoration, fixing what's broken. And for grace, the argument sees it as just wiping the slate clean of all consequences. But the theological understanding makes a critical distinction between the eternal penalty, which is removed, and earthly discipline, which might not be. I love this analogy. Think of the argument's logic as a perfectly written computer program. It runs flawlessly. But if you feed that program bad data, in this case, these really simple, incomplete definitions of justice and grace, what are you going to get? A flawed result. It's the classic case of garbage in, garbage out. So, if the definitions are the problem, well, let's get some better ones. This is where we're going to dig into the original Hebrew and Greek to build a much more solid, accurate picture of what justice and grace are all about. Time to swap out that garbage in with some good data. In the original Hebrew, justice isn't just one single idea. It's more like a dynamic duo. You've got tzedaqah, which is all about being in a right relationship and being loyal. Then you have mishpat, which is the action you take to make things right when they're wrong, often by defending the vulnerable. The end goal isn't just to punish, it's to restore shalom, this deep, all-encompassing peace and wholeness. And this theme continues right into the New Testament with the Greek word dikaiosyne. Sure, it has a legal flavor, but in the Bible, its main job is to describe God's action of putting relationships back together correctly. So again, the focus is on restoration, not just retribution. It's a relational idea, through and through. Okay, what about grace? The Hebrew word chen gives us this incredible image of a powerful king bending or stooping down to show favor to someone way below them. And the Greek word charis is all about an undeserved gift. See, neither of these is about just ignoring what happened. They are proactive, relational acts of giving a good thing to someone who absolutely did not earn it. So, when you actually put it all together, the picture you get isn't one of opposition at all. It's harmony. Justice is about maintaining right relationships and moral order. Grace is the incredible, unearned act of love that restores those relationships when they get broken. They're actually working together, aiming for the same goal. And this isn't some new idea we're reading back into the text. The Bible itself is constantly putting these ideas together. You see it in the prophet Micah, who says to do justice and love mercy. The Psalms have this amazing poetry about righteousness and peace kissing each other. And Jesus himself points to justice and mercy as some of the most important parts of the law.
They're consistently shown as partners, not rivals.
So this brings us to the absolute linchpin of this entire discussion, the cross. According to Christian theology, this is the one moment in history where the full demands of perfect justice and the full-on expression of perfect grace meet, and they do it without any contradiction at all.
This verse from the book of Romans just lays out the solution perfectly. The whole point of the cross, according to the Apostle Paul, was for God to show how he could be both just, meaning he doesn't just sweep wrongdoing under the rug, and at the exact same time be the justifier, the one who offers grace and forgiveness.
So how does that work exactly? The logic is found in the idea of the atonement. Let's walk through it. Step 1, sin creates a kind of moral debt. Step 2, true justice demands that this debt be paid. That upholds the people get what they deserve side of things. But step 3 is the game changer, substitution. The payment is made in full, but by Christ on behalf of others. And that is what makes step 4 possible. God can now extend grace without compromising his justice because the debt has been fully settled. The contradiction just dissolves. And so that brings us to the conclusion. That original logical puzzle, as brilliant as it seemed on the surface, was never actually arguing against the deep biblical ideas of justice and grace. It was arguing against a cheap, simplified version of them, what you'd call a straw man. Let's just put them side by side one last time. On the left, the straw man argument. Justice is only punishment, grace is a total get-out-of-jail-free card, and so they're opposites. But on the right, you have the actual theological view. Justice is restorative, grace deals with the ultimate penalty, and the two are brought together perfectly in the atonement. We're talking about two totally different pictures. So the bottom line is this. The paradox was never actually in God's character. The paradox was created by the flawed, simplistic human definitions used to build the argument in the first place. It attacks a caricature. And yeah, it proves the caricature is impossible, but it never even lays a glove on the real thing. And all of this leaves us with a bigger question to chew on, doesn't it? This whole explainer really came down to the power of a good definition. It makes you wonder, in all kinds of complex issues, how much does the way we define our terms end up building the reality we're able to see?